Joining me now to break it all down, defense and trial attorney Misty Marris. Misty, good to have you back. So you have text messages which paint a different period of this time period in October 2018 than a daughter's hopeful, you might say, recollection. She testified her father still seemed good. She said in so many words, I was hopeful about his sobriety efforts. And then you see these text messages. Was that damaging? And if so, how damaging for the defense?
Yeah, it really undercut the defense strategy, and Naomi Biden's testimony certainly took a turn when those text messages came in, especially the text message about, Dad, I can't take this anymore, and him saying, it's unfair to you that I'm not communicative. All of that really undercuts the idea that in October 2018, the critical time period that Hunter Biden was not doing drugs, or that Naomi Biden recollected that he was actually clean during that time. So those text messages were very damaging. And as we just discussed, also that timeline. Keep in mind with Hallie Biden, the defense was trying to establish a timeline that from October 6th to October 22nd, she never actually observed Hunter Biden doing drugs. Naomi Biden was supposed to be another witness to further corroborate that. And unfortunately for the defense, those text messages really undercut that point.
So what does the defense do now? And is calling Hunter Biden himself to testify one of those steps in your view?
Well, they really scrapped their whole defense plan because we know that they had other witnesses that were potentially going to testify. They had experts, they had James Biden, and they said that's not going to happen anymore. So right now, the question is whether or not Hunter Biden will testify. And here's what's going through a defense attorney's mind. Of course, the jury would want to hear from Hunter Biden. He's the one who's going to be able to talk about his state of mind. Did he feel that he was an addict at the time? What was he thinking when he filled out that form? Did he understand it? All of the things that the defense presented in the opening statement. Now, the jury cannot use it against him if he doesn't testify, but of course it would be helpful because they are asking the jury to look into his head. But they're doing a risk-reward analysis, Jim. They're saying, if he does testify, there's so much that could come in, specifically with his drug use, perhaps more passages from his memoir, more information from the laptop. It is a huge risk. I think it's unlikely that he ultimately testifies.
Listen, this is an emotional trial, right? I mean, you got a daughter testifying about her father. You have someone speaking about addiction, which the jurors, I mean, during voir dire, many of them said they have someone in their family, which, by the way, is far from uncommon in this country. In fact, you might say most families have some experience with addiction. What is your read of what the most likely outcome is here, or even perhaps the best hope for the defense or the prosecution? Because there are also questions about how often a case like this itself is prosecuted to this degree.
Yeah, absolutely. So this particular type of case, when you have a case for possession and a case for falsification of the application, it's usually not charged on its own this way. It's usually because the person who tried to acquire the gun was a felon, or the gun was used in another violent crime. So this is very unique, although the jury won't hear that. However, Naomi Biden, I'm not in the courtroom. I was reading about her testimony as it was coming out. Obviously, that's impactful. The jurors have had personal experience with addiction, which unfortunately permeates our society. So there's a lot of sympathy to somebody who's struggled. So I think a hung jury is a very, very real possibility in this case.
Misty Marris, we'll see, perhaps quite soon. Thanks so much for joining.